Hi there, and welcome again, the Disability Law Show. Thank you for joining us for the next 30 minutes, where we like to, smash the myths and misconceptions about disability law. John Scholes here, and my co-host, always, Sivan Tumarkin, always ready to answer your questions. Sivan, of course, partners Samfiru Tumarkin, LLP, the most positively reviewed law firm in the country. I'll give you right away how to reach out to Sivan. I'll give it to you throughout the show as well, 1-855-821-5900, and you can go to help@disabilityrights.ca if you want to use the email address. There's a few more things I want you to be aware of as far as websites are concerned, but we'll go through those as the show continues. Sivan, 3 important facts about the appeals process and LTD claims. This is a wickedly important topic we'll get to in just a little bit. Some emails from our listeners as well and our viewers from our radio show. We'll get to all that over the course of the half hour, but Sivan, we always start off, we warm things up with the week that was, something you've been working on, pal. What do you got?
Absolutely, John. It's been a very busy week. A lot of people contacting us for help with their long-term disability claims. And we are now in the tail end of 2022.
I know.
Hard to believe that, we're almost done this year. Hard to believe that we are several years past COVID, when COVID started. And of course, we still have the virus around. Things are still going on. But there are many cases that arose during COVID that led to people claiming for long-term disability. And I want to tell you about one specifically, a lady that I spoke with earlier this week. And this was a 32-year-old lady. She's an emergency room doctor. So she was right in the thick of it. She was dealing with all these emergencies when everything came up, when people were rushing to the hospital. We had a lot of deaths. We have a lot of issues with COVID before the vaccines, etc. And as a result, within a span of about a year after COVID started, she started feeling like she can't work. We're talking about mental distress. We're talking about depression, anxiety, a lot of mental issues that arose. And listen, she was an emergency room, she is an emergency room doctor, but that was just too much for her. She saw a lot of deaths. She saw a lot of things happening that were just too much. She had purchased earlier, several years back, a private long-term disability policy. And so what she did is the correct thing, which is when she felt she was not able to work, she had her own primary care physician, she had her own psychologist that she was consulting with, and they told her, you need some time off. So she took time off, she went on disability, she eventually went on long-term disability, and then, fast track to recently, she's been on LTD now for about 1.5 years or so, and the insurance company has said to her, we're going to cut you off. And it's not what you think, John. It's not because she's approaching the 2-year mark that we always talk about. Yeah. No. Get this. And this, it never ceases to amaze me how many different reasons or excuses insurance companies come up with for stopping legitimate long-term disability claims and stopping to pay on those. So in this case, they said, look, we now have the vaccine. The situations with our healthcare system is not as dire as it was when COVID hit, those 2 years, 2.5 years, when we didn't have the vaccine, etc. And so we think that as a result of the situation being better and vaccines being everywhere now, and we're not wearing masks in most places, that you should be better. You should be back at work. And she says, well, I can't. I'm still not over this. And her family doctor agrees that she's still not well enough, right? There's been a long-term impact on her psychological state. Whether that's right or wrong is irrelevant. The point is her family doctor agrees that she's still unable to work. Her psychologist agrees, and I've seen reports from psychologists saying she is unable to continue working, not permanently. She's 32 years old, so she's probably going to get better.
Sure.
In fact, that's what her doctors are saying. But at this point in time, she's still unable to perform the essential tasks of her occupation as an emergency room doctor. Despite all that, the insurance company, the adjuster, in his infinite wisdom, decided that because COVID is quote-unquote over, a nonsense statement in any event, he thinks that she should be off LTD. And so he told her that her benefits will end by the end of this year. And so she calls me up. Of course, she's still getting payments now, and she's concerned and she doesn't know what to do. Understandably so, she's panicking. And I said, don't worry about anything. I will help you with this. And John, I can tell you right now, I'm almost positive that once I get involved, and I'm going to get involved this week with the insurance company, they're going to reverse position. Because it is so ludicrous for them to take that position, to say that because COVID is over, which it is not, but in their minds it is because of the vaccines, because no masks and everything else. Because of that, somehow she doesn't qualify for LTD. That's not the test. The test is whether or not she can work, whether she's impaired from working. And her own doctors, her psychologists, are all confirming that she's still unable to perform her job. And the lesson here, so I'll help her. It's not going to be a difficult case to resolve at all. But the lesson here for people is this. If your insurance company is telling you that you do not qualify for long-term disability, whether they've denied your claim or they're cutting off your benefits, you need to get legal advice. You need to reach out to us. We will spend a few minutes on the phone with whoever it is that reaches out to us. We'll talk to you about your case. It's all free. We'll review the documentation, the denial letter, or any communications with the insurance company, the policy, your medical documents, if you'd like to share them with us, and we'll tell you within minutes whether or not the insurance company is correct or not. I can tell you, John, they are 100% wrong in this case, and we're going to make it right.
I'm sure it's not a personal thing. I would imagine they're casting a wide net for all kinds of people in this situation and saying, oh, okay, it's about that time. Let's get a ton of people off claim. What do you say, right?
I see that everywhere now. I see that with mental health claims. I see that with long COVID claims. Insurance companies are cutting people left, right, and center. And again, incorrectly, unjustly, illegally, unlawfully. And I keep saying these things, and insurance companies say, no, we can do it. Here's what they're trying to do. They are trying to cut off as many people as they can and bet on people either not knowing what their rights are, not fighting for themselves, not coming to us and getting the information that is going to help them, or in the alternative, if people do want to try to do something to challenge the insurance company, they're hoping people will appeal.
Okay.
And we're going to talk about appeals a bit later on the show, but that's what they're trying to. So it's a numbers game for them. If they can get even one person like this lady, by the way, who has a very, I mean, she was making, the money of a doctor, so you can just imagine where her LTD monthly payments are. If they can make someone like that, if they can shake that person off claim, they could save thousands, tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Sure.
So really multiply that by 5 people, 10 people, 20 people. It's a numbers game for them.
Again, anytime you want to reach out to Sivan and his team, you can do so. 1-855-821-5900 on the phone. Got offices in BC and Alberta and Ontario, but they can help you across the country. So don't hesitate to call if you're anywhere outside of Quebec. You are in good hands indeed. Pocketemploymentlawyer.ca. We always bring this website up on the show. You think, well, it's an employment lawyer thing. That's our other show. But no, because there's a section on it, and it's meant to be there on disability law, right?
For sure, yeah. I mean, we have employment lawyers on our team, and we work with them in tandem when it comes to disability claims and employment law claims. And what we find, John, is that many people who have issues with their employer are also disabled or have issues with their long-term disability insurers, and vice versa. Or someone is on LTD and they've been let go from their job. Well, they need some employment law advice, but they also need to understand how that impacts their long-term disability entitlements. And so Pocket Employment Lawyer, that tool, that website that you gave out, was constructed for the pure purpose of providing free legal information, accurate, customized, and anonymous, frankly. And so if you go to that Pocket Employment Lawyer, you can get your answers for employment law issues, but also for disability, for long-term disability issues.
Yeah.
Doesn't cost anything. You get your answers literally within seconds. If you want a further consultation, you can just click the button and we will contact you. Otherwise, you've gotten your answers. You don't have to go to Dr. Google. And it's accurate, it's anonymous. There's no reason not to use it.
Also free as well. Again, pocketemploymentlawyer.ca to take advantage of that. Want to get to an email, first one of the show, Sivan, that is help@disabilityrights.ca. Anytime you want to send one along, it might appear on a future show. Maybe, maybe not. Get to Talia, first one of the day, says, I've been on LTD for a little over a year under the care of a family doctor and psychiatrist. I was recently told by my insurance adjuster that they do not need my own doctor to sign off on a return to work. Is this true?
No.
Nope.
You see, you don't need me for this, John. You can do it for yourself.
It's not true.
100% not true.
No.
And if you think about it, it defies common sense. How can an insurance company tell you that you are ready to go back to work or pressure you to try and go back to work before you are ready, before your doctors say that you are ready? I have seen quite a few cases, John, where despite what doctors are saying, against medical advice, insurance adjusters pressure people to try and go back to work. And you know what happens in those cases? In almost every case that I've dealt with, the person feels pressure to go back to work, so they go back to work, they try to go back to work. Their condition deteriorates, they collapse, they get worse. The doctor says, I told you so, and then they try to go back on LTD and then often have resistance from the insurance company who comes up with another excuse. Maybe you didn't try hard enough, maybe you didn't give it enough time, etc. Look, insurance companies cannot force you to go back to work. They simply cannot. What they can do is they can try and pressure you by saying, if you don't do X, we are going to cut off your benefits. If they do that, and your doctors say, no, you're not ready, well, then they've breached their obligations under that policy, that contract that you have with them as an insured person. That means that you have rights at law that you can enforce against the insurance company. So the short answer here for Talia is absolutely not. She should be speaking with her doctor or doctors, and if they say that she is ready or they think she's ready to go back to work and she feels that she's ready, then it has to be a gradual return to work program that's worked out with the employer, with the doctor, so that everyone is on the same page to give it the best go. The insurance company cannot simply dictate unilaterally and cut out the doctor from that discussion. That is absolutely inappropriate and wrong.
Is this one of those times where the insurance company will say, well, we need more information from your doctor, or we're going to send you one of our people to get checked out? Is that when that whole thing starts to take place?
It could, absolutely. Yeah. In fact, some of the things that happen sometimes, some situations arise when the insurance company sends you to one of their doctors. It's called an independent medical examination. We'll talk about that as well. It's anything but independent. It's a doctor that they've hired for the sole purpose of trying to get an opinion that favors them. Yeah. And sometimes these opinions contradict what your own treating doctors are saying. And so the people ask me, well, what do I do? Do I follow the recommendations of the insurance doctor or my own treating doctors? 100 times out of 100 times I will tell you, you follow your doctor's advice. You do not follow somebody that the insurance company hired. They may be very good at what they do, but their masters are the insurance company. That's who they're creating that report for.
Right.
I would follow whoever's been treating me, right? I mean, they have my best interests at heart, and frankly, that's the best way that I can protect myself and make sure that I'm not getting into something that's going to make me worse.
Coming up here, vital facts about the appeals process. We love talking about this, but we got to take a break first. In the meantime, write this number down. Use it whenever you want, 1-855-821-5900. Email help@disabilityrights.ca. Stick around. More of the Disability Law Show is coming up.
People think you have to sign back a severance offer by a deadline. EmploymentLawyer.ca says that is a myth. Deadlines are used as a pressure tactic. Make sure the offer is fair before you sign. Always check with the employment lawyer first at EmploymentLawyer.ca. Can insurance companies deny long-term disability claims for mental illness?
When you're suffering from a mental health disability, insurance companies just don't understand. But we do.
They can absolutely not force you back to work. If your doctors say you are not ready and you know you're not ready, they cannot make you go back to work.
If you have a mental health disability and your claim is denied, don't give up. Give us a call and let us fight for you.
Go to disabilityrights.ca. Discover your rights, fight back, and get what you're owed. People think you aren't owed severance pay if you are fired for a reason. EmploymentLawyer.ca says that is a myth. Most for-cause terminations are false, and you are still owed full severance. Always check with the employment lawyer first at EmploymentLawyer.ca.
Alrighty, thank you so much for sticking around through that wee break. John Scholes here along with Sivan Tumarkin, Disability Law Show. Good to have you with us. I'll give you a couple different ways to reach out. I mentioned the email help@disabilityrights.ca. There's also a website called pocketemploymentlawyer.ca. That's not what you want to use. That's the other show. People keep emailing me about that one. mydisabilityquestions.com. Why are we mentioning that? It's free. It's anonymous. The best part is it's got a searchable database. So a question you may have, it might have already been asked by a previous viewer. You can read it, use it, and walk away. But use that anytime. Again, mydisabilityquestions.com. Okay, 3 important facts about the appeals process. We could have done 103, but these are big ones. So let's get to this right away, Sivan. Number 1, and these are facts. These are 100% true. An appeal is an internal process, like you always say, controlled by and managed by the insurance company.
That's really important to understand. Yep. When people get a letter that says that their LTD claim is denied, or when they're told that their benefits will be cut off, in almost every letter I have ever seen, in fact, in every letter I have ever seen, at the end of the letter, it could be a letter that's a page long, 2 pages, 5 pages, 10 pages long. At the end of each letter, there's a paragraph or two that outlines what your next steps are. And those next steps, if you want to challenge that decision, and they try and give you hope when it comes to this, is to do an appeal. Now, they don't tell you it's an internal appeal, but what is an appeal? You think of an appeal, you think in the context of criminal law, you're thinking appealing a criminal conviction. Yeah. You're thinking there's going to be a judge involved, maybe the ombudsperson for the insurance company, a committee on the outside.
Some external people.
Yeah. That's not what it is. Yeah. An appeal in the context of a long-term disability claim is essentially you re-asking the exact same people or their colleagues at the insurance company to really look at the documentation that they have in front of them. Now, sometimes they'll tell you, look, if you have other documentation, medical documentation perhaps, submit those to us, and that's going to be your appeal. And we're going to take a look at it, and we're going to try and consider it, et cetera, et cetera. But people think that this is an objective process. And the example I always give, John, is when my 10-year-old comes to me and says, I want a candy, right? I mean, we had Halloween not long ago. I want candy. And I said, no, not tonight. And they come back an hour later and says, can I appeal that? I want a candy. What am I going to say?
No, you're going to say that, but if you ask me in 10 minutes, go ahead.
Maybe, yes, exactly. Listen, they're not going to a judge, an objective arbiter like my wife. Right. They're going to me, and I'm going to say no. And that's what these insurance companies are doing.
Yeah.
So, the reality is that people simply don't understand that. And I don't blame people out there, right? I don't blame people for not understanding, because when you're reading the letter, it looks like an official process.
Yeah.
They're saying you have 30 days to appeal, or 60 days, or whatever time frame they give you.
They're throwing you a life jacket,
They are. And you're mixing it up with the legality of the situation.
Right.
You're thinking to yourself, by appealing it, I am drawing on some higher power to look at this. King Solomon is going to come down and going to make a decision. No, it's the exact same people or their colleagues. It's the insurance company who has no incentive to say to you that your appeal is going to be approved. So that's something you need to understand. It's an internal process. It's not an external one, which means that all the power is in the insurance company's hands.
Fact number 2 about the appeals process, based on what we just talked about on fact number 1, this one's kind of obvious. They rarely succeed in your experience.
I am telling you, John, I have yet to see one adjuster. And listen, we've been running this show for I don't know how many years, our radio shows, in different provinces, different jurisdictions. Insurance companies are listening, adjusters are listening, I know, because they tell us. They often disagree with what we say, which is great, because if they agreed, I'd be worried. The reality is that not one time has any one of them reached out to me, despite my request, to tell me, we have statistics that show that X amount of people who appeal actually get their appeal overturned, that they get approved with their LTD claims. No. In fact, insurance company, I think there was 1 or 2 adjusters that had told me, we don't keep statistics like that.
Oh,
I don't buy it.
No way.
I don't buy insurance companies not keeping statistics. So when I tell you that these appeals rarely succeed, I'm telling you not just based on my own experience over the years doing this kind of work, but I'm telling you based on my colleagues. I'm well connected to many of the disability lawyers in all of the jurisdictions where we work. And I've even asked off the record many defense lawyers that I deal with that I know really well. And the reality is, based on all the information I have, I can tell you, in my experience, these appeals rarely succeed.
Yeah.
So what does that mean? We're going to talk about it as the third point, but you need to understand that if you are trying to appeal an LTD denial, you might as well go and buy a lotto ticket.
Yeah. Fact number 3 is this, that appeals often frustrate the claimants and they just end up losing hope, right?
They do. If you think about this, again, when an insurance company cuts off your benefits, what are they doing? They're telling you they're not going to pay. If they have to pay, they may have to pay for a long time. It could mean thousands of dollars, tens, if not hundreds, if not more, of money that they have to pay you. So their goal is to shake you off the claim. As many people as they can, as many claimants as they can. They've gotten your money, they've gotten the money for premiums from your employer. They are trying to shake off claimants. And so when they go through the appeal process, individuals out there, you, me, other people, we go through an appeal, we get denied. We then think, okay, maybe I can go to a different doctor, get some more documentation. I appeal again, I get denied. And I see people coming to me after 2 or 3 denials, sometimes even more. By this time, they are broken. Remember, these people are disabled. Their family rely on them, rely on these payments. And so what happens is people lose hope. And oftentimes when I get calls from people after several denials of appeals, it's not from the claimants themselves, it's from family members, because the claimants have given up hope. What a better thing for the insurance company than this, eh? When you have claimants give up hope and simply give up on money that's owed to them. Yeah. So I am saying you should not be giving up hope. And if you are watching this and you know someone, a family member, a colleague, anyone that is in a situation, please have them reach out to us. It doesn't cost anything to speak with us. And we'll give them the information they need. Or go to the websites that, John, you keep giving out here. Mm-hmm. Please do not play the game that the insurance company wants you to play, because the end result, it's like going to a casino, right? The chances are is that the house is going to win if you play their game. So don't play their game. This is when you speak with us, and we're going to tell you what is a lot more powerful than an appeal, which is that legal claim, the legal process, which is what we do. That's how we force insurance companies to pay.
How about those people who, at the end say, okay, Sivan, I've watched you on TV, I've heard the radio shows for years across the country. Nah, I still want to give it a shot. I got this bill, I want to give it a shot. Any advice, like, other than don't, right?
The best advice I can give you is be prepared for disappointment. Try and characterize your appeal as best you can, as you cannot perform the essential tasks of your own occupation or any occupation, depending on where you are in the appeal process. Make sure that your doctors are on board. Make sure you continue getting the treatments that you've been getting. You don't want to give the insurance company another excuse to tell you that they're not going to pay you. So just do everything as is. Make sure that any communications with the insurance company, you are recording in writing, and that means communicating with the adjuster every time you have a conversation by phone, if you have conversations by phone, where you are simply recording and outlining what was said between you and the adjuster. That's all I can say, John. Just be prepared for disappointment, but build up your case by having the doctors on your side and give the insurance company any information that they've requested from your doctors.
The moral of the story is, if it comes appeal time, don't do it. Just reach out to these guys right away. 1-855-821-5900. Can you be forced to attend an IME, independent medical examination? We'll discuss that on the other side of the break, with lots more of the Disability Law Show coming right up.
People think you should go to the government to get severance pay. EmploymentLawyer.ca says that is a myth. Government can only help you get minimum severance, but not everything you're entitled to. Always check with the employment lawyer first at EmploymentLawyer.ca. If your long-term disability claim is denied, should you appeal?
Appeals often fail because insurance companies control the process. So long as you appeal, you're playing by their rules.
You should never appeal the denial of your disability benefits. Appeals are just a mirage of false hope.
Don't. That's their process. Take it out of their hands and fight for your rights with our help.
Go to disabilityrights.ca. Discover your rights, fight back, and get what you're owed. People think their employer can make changes to their job. EmploymentLawyer.ca says that is a myth. Your employer can't change your pay, hours, or duties. You may be entitled to full severance pay. Always check with the employment lawyer first at EmploymentLawyer.ca.
All right, welcome back. Disability Law Show. Good to have you hanging on for the remaining time we have on this half hour. Again, a reminder, reaching you across the country. You can reach out to Sivan and his team, whether it's Alberta, BC, Ontario, or anywhere else outside of Quebec. You are good to go. The phone number, 1-855-821-5900. And I talked about this already, mydisabilityquestions.com, a website constructed for you to ask your questions anonymously, free of charge, with a searchable database. That's a nice bonus to using it. We'll get to one from there, Sivan. This one comes from Kaylin. Writes in, says, I have a serious heart condition that came on suddenly a few years ago. My cardiologist instructed me to stop working as my job is physically demanding. Any sort of stress gets my heart going and I get dizzy and lose my breath. One time I had to be rushed to the ER. Despite this, my insurance adjuster has requested I attend an examination for a second opinion. Should I be worried?
The answer is no. Don't be worried, but be prepared. And let's talk about the second opinion. And we talked about this earlier in the show, John. When an insurance company asks you to see one of their doctors, it's called an independent medical examination. And you're smiling, I'm smiling, because it's anything but independent. Yep. These are examinations that you are required to attend under the terms of the policy, the contract that you have with the insurance company. But these examinations are not independent. In fact, they should be called dependent medical examinations. And the reason for that is because this doctor that is going to be seeing you has been chosen, handpicked by the adjuster that has arranged for the examination. The insurance company is going to be paying this doctor to conduct the examination and produce a report. And this doctor that they've chosen most likely has gotten other types of work from this insurance company. It's probably not their first rodeo. And by the way, John, I used to work for insurance companies. Right. Remember, years and years ago, I used to order these kinds of independent medical examinations for claimants when I was working for insurance companies. And I can tell you that I would typically go with doctors that I knew, doctors that I was familiar with their work, familiar with what they're going to produce. That's not to say that I created a situation whereby I would be telling the doctor what to write, but I knew what to expect. And this is what these insurance companies are trying to do. Now, are you going to have some doctors telling the truth and being objective? For sure. And many of these doctors that the insurance company is selecting are actually very good at what they do. But the reality is that when the insurance company says, we want you to be seen by one of our doctors or one of our experts, doesn't have to be a doctor, there is a reason for that. It's because they are trying to get an opinion, procure an opinion that is going to be favorable to them, i.e. not favorable to you. Now, John, one of the websites that we talk about sometimes is ltdfaq.ca, right? Long-term disability frequently asked questions. And on it, we've created these memos, these short memos in English. Okay, there's no legal speak in there, and people can go and download these memos for free. And one of those memos deal with independent medical examinations, and it contains all of these kinds of questions surrounding what should you expect, how should you act during a medical examination, what you should do after. Right? What happens if this individual here that wrote to us or that posted that question goes to this doctor, and this doctor comes up with a different opinion with respect to this person's ability to work than that person's treating cardiologist? What do you do? Well, the answer is simple. You follow whatever your treating cardiologist says, 100%. But again, should people be worried? They're going to be worried anyways. I mean, who am I to say don't be worried? But better advice is be prepared. So that's why it's so important when people ask these questions. And they ask these questions, John, before they do these examinations. They prepare beforehand. So go read that memo on our website, ltdfaq.ca. It's free. Many other memos there are free. It's going to empower you because it's going to give you information that you really, really need about your case.
Last couple minutes here, Sivan. I want to get to an email before we finish up for the day. Dominic writes in, says, after ongoing bullying and harassment at the office, my mental health took a serious negative turn. Repeated panic attacks led to an inability to work, and my doctor now has me on medication. As these mental health concerns are triggered by my work environment, will I still qualify for disability benefits?
This is an excellent question, Dominic, and it's something that comes up quite often. Remember, we said that we have employment lawyers in our office, in all our offices, as well as long-term disability lawyers. And this is one of those cases, John, that does touch on employment law and on disability law. So let me answer a disability law question first. The question is this: if all these issues arose from work, is this person still entitled to long-term disability? Well, the answer is it depends. Insurance companies may decline that kind of a claim on the basis that it's situational, meaning that it's specific to the work environment. Right. So in other words, they're going to say, look, LTD is not bad boss insurance or bad
not for that workplace.
Correct.
Right.
If it's generalized, meaning that it may have arisen through the work environment, through a toxic work environment, a bad boss, bad colleagues, whatever. But now it doesn't matter if you are placed there or you're placed elsewhere. You are simply cannot work. You are depressed, you're anxious, whatever it is. Once it's above and beyond just that particular workplace, it's become generalized. And at that point, the insurance company must pay you. And that is a distinction that is often missed by adjusters. Sometimes it's not missed. Sometimes I feel like they're turning a blind eye. But what people out there need to know, what individuals like yourself, Dominic, need to know is that if, in fact, your condition is now generalized, meaning it doesn't matter whether you work at your workplace or elsewhere, you simply cannot work because of the issues that you're experiencing, that means that you're entitled to LTD. And, of course, you also potentially have a claim for the toxic work environment, the constructive dismissal. Again, we can help with both of these issues. We can help with the long-term disability issues and the employment issues. And we have to make sure that when we're dealing with those issues, we're dealing with them in tandem because they do affect each other. One of the unique aspects of our firm, obviously, is that we have both types of lawyers, and we do communicate. We want to maximize the amount of compensation that goes in your pocket.
So the key here, as we close off, is make sure your medical team realizes and lets them know that this is now a generalized condition.
Yes,
right?
Correct, exactly. Okay. And in fact, many treating practitioners don't make that distinction, and that could hurt your claim. But again, we're happy to speak with them, with you, to explain that. The key is to make sure that you prep the situation in such a way that the insurance company has no way but to pay you because they have to.
Dominic, appreciate you reaching out. Again, that email address is help@disabilityrights.ca. You want to do the same and write into us. Maybe you'll get on the show sometime. And just call the number as well outside of that. 1-855-821-5900 is the way to do that. ltdfaq.ca. Short, concise, easy to read memos for you to explore. And then finally, mydisabilityquestions.com. That's a resource, free, anonymous. You can ask your questions, searchable as well. So feel free to use that at your leisure. And we'll catch you next time. Join us. Come back for another edition of the Disability Law Show.